Ouais, j'espère que t'es bien. Oh non,
Zach, shut up!
No, I couldn't show. I couldn't show it.
Mm-mm. No, non vengo utili. Ah, ah. Okay. What goes thinking?
Okay, so not in my old, but in my lifetime, things in America have gotten a lot more intense. When I was growing up, it was pretty common to treat people like Asian or like sports people. I can be embarrassed. And so we were Packers people, even if I hate their team. But today it feels more like I'm embarrassed that as an Packers fan, so I'm not becoming a Thanksgiving dinner dish. Indeed, it has become something of a cliche to say that America is one thing and Europe is another. But it feels true. According to USC University, which measures political polarization on a scale of 1 to 100, America has a voting 82.5 to 1. A team of researchers writing political noted that 33% of Democrats and 36% of Republicans feel it would be less than justified in using violence to achieve their goals. That was an increase of 9% in parties as well as 2. In this climate, it's maybe no wonder that polls indicate that somewhere between 50% of Americans said civil war is a decade or so later. But you're probably thinking, people say crazy things in surveys all the time. Give me something trash, the man might give it out, man. It's girlfriend. He don't flirt with her mama.
Ew, what?
But is there actually any merit to this fear? Let's find out in this widespread edition. Good America had others. The term Civil War originated in ancient Rome around the 1st century BCE, where he was European armies. He writes, Romans did not encourage suffrage from Catholics. They were at first to experience it as Civil War. Romans were scrapers to violence, but violence was never inflicted on its own citizens, by its own citizens. For them, it was very important that wars engaged by the state in rationalizing wars. Essentially, it's packaged as revolution. This German historian, Costa, theories of revolution is a concept of contrast and episode. Marx suggests that the basis of that revolution is designed to repress and replace the struggle forward. Very simple purpose, senseless violence, anything better, revolution is justifiable. It's enacted. The murkiness of this station, which plays out in for example, which plays in that's what hearings are. South Carolina judge early revolution, including not the official until 1779. Similarly, the American Civil War was rebellion, which was salvage rebellion. State salvage is national nations states, not until 1907. Thus, very exceptional revolutions. This rebellions it's easy to I revolution. You are rebels. They are angels. Today's civil war Now, some people ask about the sex scandal. We have wait, we're not ready yet. So now we can, and we compare it to WeWork, right? Like WeWork's doing this on a small scale, Enron's doing this on a large scale. If they were allowed to continue doing this, like the kind of like goals that you were saying they were going towards, if they were able to accomplish that with the regulations and everything, then essentially, I mean, the policy that it would have ended up at would have been ridiculous. So it's actually good, not only for crypto, but also the entire financial industry that will be related to this, that cancer's getting plugged related to traditional areas. It was actually a good point if FTX went down and we kind of got this on the market rather than having, let's continue for another cycle, rather than doing some massive movement. So just a great cost of interview and circle back, right? Bitcoin was like, we have this really bad because companies now we have just playing their video. And it's not because it's okay, everything's equal, basically, right? That's right, exactly. It's not a narrative. Right? Now, this kind of crazy thing. So he started blowing the whistle on this, and then CZ kind of hears about it. This is really going on, and then he finds out, right? So basically, we're not going to have access to the US market anymore. That means I can't IPO my just tools and stuff. So, right, just to show you how like incentives, I got to say allegedly, okay? Speculating, allegedly. That's right. On the last raise for FTX, they raised about $2 billion. Right, so SBF got $2 billion of cash from huge investors on top of Sequoia. And this is starting to come out in the videos that Sequoia, Sam was at the corporation playing with legal legends. And he got horrible legal legends there. Did he know Destiny? Probably. I forget. He's probably doing the Poly story. If we can find a tie to the Poly story, to League of Legends, to Destiny, to SB. I mean, isn't Destiny involved? Yes. In a big way. How do you know Sam didn't go through? Not exactly. Is that 0%? You're gonna have to tell 0% here. It's a reach. We don't know. There we go. So Destiny. And they did anyway, because, and I'm going to quote somebody that I met in West Virginia who talked about this, because the fear of change, it becomes less scary than the fear of things staying the same. And I think when you get to that point, fuck you, okay, put me in jail, maybe I'll sleep. And I think that's where we're at right now. And so I obviously can't tell and I wouldn't to these real workers how they should act or what to do, but I would say this, first of all, there are people who have your back. Folks are asking about donations, and I'm going to tell folks how they can support, but also, this is, you have this power, and this is just evidence of that. The fact that they're telling you it's illegal means that they're fucking terrified of you. And if you went on strike anyway, what are they going to do? Send Biden to work the railroads? No! They don't know how to fucking do it. And I know you're going to bring up the FAA. Unlike with air traffic control, there's nobody else they can get to do it. This is specialized fucking work that takes a long time to train for. And so they have nothing, they can't do anything. So either way, shit gets stalled. And then the ball is very much in their court. Are you going to keep these people in jail? Or are you going to give them the measly basic human rights that they're asking for and let them get back to work? Because if you take the time to train new people, that's months of time. Your economy is shit. So really, call their bluff. Call their fucking bluff. That's what I would say. Again, I'm not a real worker, so I'm not trying to say that I am in a place to. Yeah. But that's what I would say.
It's all great points. You wanted to give a website?
Yes. It's not a lot of WWs. So, you can donate at www.railroadworkers. All people are heading into debt slavery or life. This is not a good thing. Where they're in debt for life, they're constantly having to pay back that debt over their entire lifetime until they're dead. And that is just the harsh reality of what's going on. I want to show you in this stream. So let's get right into it. All Canadians are carrying their mortgage debt into old age, making it difficult to plan retirement. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of insane. This actually came from the Globe and Mail. So more Canadians at retirement age are still paying off a mortgage. The financial advisors say rising interest rates will make it even more difficult for Canadians to pay off their homes before retirement. You know, the interesting thing that I want to note about that is when you really think about low interest rates, what they've done, they've essentially pushed everybody out on the risk curve, you know, from your pension fund to your grandma and granddad. And when you really think about what's happened there, think about if there had been investments that have yielded a solid return, like you could get a solid return in your savings account. Because once upon a time, you could do that before 2007, 2008. So it's kind of insane when you really think about it. And really, everybody has just positioned themselves for this low interest rate environment, which eventually comes to an end like everything else. So the number of people over 65 with an outstanding mortgage in their place of residence rose from 1.2 million to 1.5 million between 2016 and 2021, according to Statistics Canada. Although the agency noted that they don't measure whether other people living in the home make mortgage payments contribute. That doesn't make sense, but this obviously can't be from the Globe and Mail. But the number of senior citizens living alone with a mortgage also rose around 181,000.
Elon Musk, not just battling for the White House.
Jack, what are you doing? Jack.
Skipping one fun day, they'd say that whether or not I could look up anything was a wonderful life. We were together and now I'm fucked up and we're not doing. Never lied to me. Is this supposed to be me? I'm the one man doesn't help me fall asleep at night. Sleeping is tiring. Dark minds may die. As long as there's feet in my heart, I'm still beating the money rushing through every room, searching on all the lies. Falling in love and late night bars. There's always more nights, there's always more bugs. Problem is showing you love in your stars. Is that everybody's lover is covered in stars? So give me one fine day, when you say that whether or not I could look up anything was a wonderful life. We were together and now I'm fucked up and we're staying up nights. I feel it. The moment just before the dawn, but everything was fine. Baby, I didn't need it. Things you get desperate. Let's say we're gonna let go. They're running out, drifting in and coming away from one another. Give me one fine day. Let me say whether or not I could look up anything. Anything was a wonderful life. We were together and now I'm fucked up and free. One fine day. Let me say whether or not I could look up anything. Anything was a wonderful life. We were together and now I'm fucked up and free. I'm skirting round the ring, doing something braver. Just standing strong, turn circles into square, laying down the facts like I must find the way. See the way you hold your hand, say my name.
To death.
Thank you for appearing here today. Is it KSF that is responsible for aeromedical safety for pilots in Australia? Can you tell me a bit more about the responsibility?
I work with my colleague who looks after the area within CASA to provide you a bit more information about how we operate.
I've been talking about the order very said fourth industrial revolution when we moved to college. I've been talking about on this channel over the last 3 years. Classes to start this channel 3 years ago, talking about this topic because it definitely affects everyone. And what we're seeing right now is because of the push forward is agenda. And they want to control everyone, control all the resources, control ownership of the world. They think they are special. They think they are. They think they should control everything in the world because the vast resources they have. And I'm not sure how much they will be able to get in place. I don't think it's going to be everything at once. The entire planet that is doing. So I think they will be at different stages in different parts of the world, just like it is right now. But rest assured, we're going to keep pushing, pushing, and pushing. If it's another 100 years, they will still be trying to push, push forward. Granted, that's their thing. It's a cycle. The way things work. You have these leads in multiple labs. Which have four. And I'm going to grab that control.
No, it smells like high school. It smells like
That's right. That's 30 less. So
that's one reason they want to lower population now.
there's a 1-7.
You got
And then it says, you take some of that stuff. Then 5 for the 30, if not 20, that's 600. All the growers are because they got bills to pay.
You know?
No, but the growers, because it's every time I talk to someone, the growers are, because he said the same thing as the other guys. They got bills to pay, and the partners are not doing anything to sell to get rid of the stock. He said, I'll take it upon myself here. Right? No, it's just because the market went so low, these guys, their production costs. That's why I'm not interested in growing, because it's a pain in the ass. It's like ordering a restaurant and having the friends to look at your bills.
Absolutely. That's why I don't know why you signed up for it. Like, to me, that's like literally giving the government permission to snoop more into my shit. I'd rather just like fucking have the plans and like fucking either way, I'm gonna get in shit, right? You guys are gonna fucking put your nose in my business because you know it's there, and you're gonna fucking find something no matter what. Like, fucking apparently, even the government, what they're dishing out is not real pot. It's synthetic pot. That's what the terpene things are. They're flavoring. But they had a bunch of labs set up. They invested a shit ton of money in Barnwell. They had a huge fucking, and everything had to be sterile, and all the people who worked there were like fucking called like university graduates for like horticulture and shit. Like, that's why like so many people were pissed off who were like fucking elderly people. They were supposed to get jobs.
CGTN at the APEC Summit. The interview Schwab praises China as a mobile radio. It's not shocking way to consider Chinese markets following with the quote section of 2002. Its decline is in large part due to also due to the same zero COVID policy, which has kept the nation years. Remember all those cultists who were cheering for China last year? Remember when they claimed that China was the perfect example of what was necessary and fruit China's economy is now a free fall, manufacturing based, extreme stress. Mandates furthermore, it would appear that the Chinese populace is finally fed up to economic conditions and are rising up and revolt. So here's the Chinese government has made clear troops to put down rebellion by stopping protestations at ground. You can see that around here. Take note, remember this video here about Apple's hostility to Elon Musk, free speech, bosses on Twitter. Apple loves authoritism, as do all globalist corporations. China continues to terrorize citizens with secret police visits to local dissidents and fleets of drones hovering above city streets, blocking blood traffic and firing propaganda messages. Guys, this is, like I said, role model for what they will just every city, every town, it will just affect everyone to the United U.S. Some drones spray unknown chemicals across entire city blocks. Meantime, China has fully implemented digital vaccine passports systems tied to public venues and retail stores. You cannot function in a major Chinese city without an up-to-date vaccine passport or a negative COVID test taken every couple of weeks. Obviously, the CCP is not here like the well-being of the average Chinese citizen, and it's the same way every country and every government is not care about the people, including here in the U.S. Obviously, they look at everyone like cattle or even worse. There's no logic to anything that are doing, just as there was difference is Americans were able to force the governments of the U.S. to abandon their mandate agenda, not get the cause were heavily armed. And they realized that too many of us were not compliant. In China, there is no civilian militia equipment repeating their orders. This is what happens when the citizens leave the country has no right to, or has no right to defend themselves in a way to actively defend themselves. The country was a dystopia before. Now it's something different. It is an experiment in technocratic tyranny that is being taken to the extreme. China's willing to starve the rest of feed and kill people who claim are trying to protect. They're trying to protect the virus.
Ow! No! Go!
That is spoken expression now, in my view, against the fact that China's relationships with the global
Go do something.
are a big part of the New World Order, also referred to as the multipolar or the fourth industrial revolution, great reset, and other things.
Go.
The real multiplication in the future take a look at China today and the multiply pain and suffering that will come below. China is by the test. Not just like Klaus Schwab, I'm interested in China as a economic model. I see China as a societal role model, much of the West. Tweaks here. As it stands, China continues to represent a model of authoritism, authoritarian dreams, research study, and psychological culture. For me, a counterpart to the global action and global process in progress. Watch what happens very closely. People nationally we have to hear that definitely understand the fact we show here they fail. Violent woman is dragged out of his home by hazmat-clad authorities in China after refusing to go into the quarantine facility, probably afraid that his was harvested. Horrifying footage has captured a man being arrested out of his home. The Chinese authorities in hazmat suits after he refused to be moved to the quarantine facility. You see some of the video here. The video because of copyright strikes. The officials arrested by hazmat suits appeared to have entered his home, demanding that he be taken to a Chinese quarantine facility, including 5 more guys here to like both. What's good? I can't say here on YouTube what I would do to someone that came in my house trying to do this to me, trying to come into my house and do this. But it wouldn't be this right here. You know, a whole lot different than that. Sad. The 2 minutes scream at the man. Put on the mask. As they urge him to cover his face despite being in his own home and not posing the risk to him. After their hands were in him, as the man struggles to escape, the men yell at him to cooperate with the state. The distressed man also continues to wiggle his way out with authorities now clamping onto his wrist and legs. He also planted into the sofa, wanting to be dragged away and taken to the government quarantine facility. Because he's probably afraid of losing his kidneys. I've been known to happen. The man's current whereabouts are probably never seen again, unfortunately. Deadly virus infections reached near record highs and follows weekend protests across the country by residents frustrated by the rigid enforcement of antivirus restrictions that are now entering their fourth year. Even as the rest of the world has opened up. Researchers at the Center for Disease Control and Southwestern has analyzed how many deaths in China could see if it pivots to full reopening methods. Most pointing to the country's relatively low vaccination rates and lack of herd immunity as some of its most vulnerable spots. However, the scientists said the forecasted death toll would be reduced sharply if there was a focus on vaccination. Here they are lined up to test. There was everything closed down. Most of the people who don't have the right paperwork in place. You see, here and all messed up, ready to go to hazmat research, you think it was Ebola with that. As the rest of the world has learned to live with the virus, China remains lonely. Other nations still sticking to a zero COVID strategy, which aims to isolate every infected person. Or, in other words, waging control population, control population to make your enemies get big slip disappear. The government reported 33,018 domestic infections found in the last 24 hours, including 29,085 with no symptoms. Read that again. The government reported 33,018 domestic infections found in the last 24 hours, including 29,085 with no symptoms. So, do math. 33,000 they found to be infected. 29,000 had no symptoms. Alrighty then. China could see 1.3 million, 2.1 million people died. It lists zero COVID policy due to low vaccination booster rates, as well as a hybrid immunity. British scientific information analysis company, our Affinity said on Monday, kind of like the analysis of simulations they had the test to start out with. But anyway, guys, like I said, this is the model for this. This is what you want from the leaders of your vote. As said, China just worked, and I'm sure the Biden regime, all the Democrats and Republicans probably actually think the same way. Anyways, the story is keep pushing, keep moving forward. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It takes 100 years to get this in place. And I don't think it'll take that long. I don't think it'll get it everywhere. However, we have to keep working on it. And 3 years ago, when I first started talking about this on this channel, I first started the channel up. It's came a long ways. From the first. And another one be 2030. And pandemic.
Is the main story at the time. We do not yet know to full extent the systemic structural changes which will happen. However, we do know the global energy systems, food systems,
changer as far as national peace and security is concerned. We did it. I think right now, like any other time in our nation's history, we need God.
Probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend the church of their choice on Sunday.
First little video, sounded unheard of. Pathetic things that have happened. And those of you that know these things are real scriptures. In Acts, March 16, 17, signs of the times, prophetic implications, show us that this works.
These are among the darkest hour, for he who sees the end.
The beginning of large-scale war in Ukraine will be the end of the world order as we know it.
Are we ready? A new world.
We've got waiting. We've got a night for us.
We want a city come not only to Africa, our economies, our societies by COVID-19, it also has to conform to the repercussions.
There's this discussion about it. It's been such a example now. The leaders of the government and the masters of the race, they used to somewhat speak up very carefully about this back then. So, and they're really very clear. Yeah, and they just tell you exactly what's going on. So, what exactly each of these is going to set you what concepts will be impacted by these videos that show things. Right? My friends, this thing is coming.
We have a responsibility which we have towards the next generation.
When the topic was on the New World Order, this is something that will touch everybody, and we should all be involved in it. Because whether we like it or not, the New World Order will dictate how things go.
With regard to food shortages, we did disrupt food shortages. And it's going to be great. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia, it's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and other countries as well.
If there's one thing the President points, it's his statement that there will be food shortages. Sanctions on Russia and attacks around the wheat and cornfields of Ukraine ensure that basic food commodities will be in short supply, and that means much higher prices. And the problem stretches out into the future because is a shortage of fertilizer. In some countries, that could mean settlement rights and even regime change. Remember, it was a spike in wheat prices that helped set off the Arab Spring. We're seeing the effects that this war has had on the rising cost of living. This government promises to do everything possible to reduce those effects on the population. Protesters tried to topple a bus and then set it on fire. Demonstrations against Sri Lanka's dire economic situation turned violent for the first time in Colombo. The protesters rallied close to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's private residence as they demanded his resignation. They accused his administration of mishandling a crisis that's causing future incidents like 30 other blackouts every day. Although I can't quite anything. I can't buy petrol, I can't get gas, but my gas canister empties. There's no wheat, no flour, no milk powder, no electricity, and no gas. You see what's going on now. Desperate people, desperate things. Who got the powers in the leaders' in an effort to supposedly stop Russia? President Trump taking over this war against Ukraine. All the sanctions were enforced. But these sanctions are going to be to stop the war and hurt the economy of Russia, but also the economy of the world, which also leads us to another inflation, which we now pay the price for this, but yet the war is still happening because Russia finds other means to fund the war. Yeah, we may have moved away from that, but really, what have we really done? We have either, in the process of trying to fix the whole thing, we create a bunch of paper, and now demonstrators have been taken to the streets across the room, at times clashing with police. You know, we have to work double, help each other financially. We have to do overtime, work all day. Sugar was 2.5 soles a week ago. Right now it's 6. Chicken was 12 soles 2 days ago. Now it's 16. They got another people who President Biden's in the war, but soaring gas prices and persistent inflation create major problems for the president and his party as they head into midterms.
I'd like to start off with some news from Spain, which has hit almost everybody there quite hard. A combination of a truck drivers' strike and economic impacts of the Ukraine war left a lot of supermarkets quite short of basic foods. And as of this week, Spanish supermarkets are allowed to ration consumer purchases of a certain number of products, including basics like milk and flour.
Germany is worried about possible natural gas rationing needs to dispute as much as government advantage. Unfriendly countries
We begin here in Germany, where the government has announced that it's activating an early warning plan in preparation for possible shortages in gas deliveries from Russia. Economy Minister Robert Habeck said a crisis team must be established to closely monitor gas supplies. This follows Moscow's demand for payment in rubles, which Germany and other importers have rejected.
Russian gas needs to gas Russian banks. Some of those attempts to just banks was not good. Such a painless clients complying with obligations.
Если же такие платежи не в истории so not successful, then we will consider it as biased failure to meet the commitments. This is all the relevant consequences. Nobody sells anything to us for free. Neither are we going to do charity work. That means the current contract will be yours to hold.
This is serious business, man. This is serious business. Who would have thought the decision of Vladimir Putin to turn our world upside
Yeah,
down?
don't fucking bully.
Countries in fact,
They don't fucking people who are fucking bigger than you, dumb bitch.
we have to spiritually stored and ready.
Another appearance on world order is always the financial system. Either was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important the national structure is to absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we're on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon. Our world order is always the financial system. I was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we're on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce new one.
Treasuries was this was a powerful statement she made here. See, this is how we communicated here on that summit that literally took place 2 weeks ago, which may have been the news. However, this big discussion about moving away from paper money to more of a digital currency of fiat, a central banking system that controls the finances of the entire world. This is what they talk about. This is part of the world is to control the finances of the people in such a way that everything is being digitalized or computerized and that can be easily monitored. They can have the battery. But what about those who choose to use those batteries?
A sign that a recession could be on the horizon. So everybody's talking about the yield curve. Recession isn't happening, as folks know right now.
For a potential recession, let's bring in Joe, like a chief economist at Natixis, Jeffrey Tapping with us. Where do you peg the probability of a recession?
Right now, it's let's say by year end, I'd say about 50-50 is pretty close.
Russia's actions, including atrocities committed against innocent Ukrainians who represent an unacceptable affront to the rules-based global order and will have enormous economic repercussions in Ukraine and beyond. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having an almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private currency are used introducing digital currency. The Chinese were the first. The U.S. is on the brink, I think, of moving in the same direction. The Europeans have committed to that as well.
The Chinese last month. These are some strong statements, guys. We can't just overlook things like that. A new digital currency. I saw the bankers in Nigeria. This digital currency, it is already here. We've been moving toward that for such a long time now. Credit cards, you make transactions today. It's like cash is becoming a strange thing, man. But what's the danger? Well, the more that they have access to the way to control our monetary system, the easier it is for them to control buying and selling. And the Bible says that in the last days, there will be no buying and selling except you receive the mark of the beast. And that is another discussion in itself. Anyway, let's keep listening.
On the world's first digital currency from a major power. Currency that would not be printed but would exist only in cyberspace on your phone, for example. Is the Fed working on a digital dollar? We are actually evaluating that. Most major countries are now looking at the possibility of having a digital currency. We are looking carefully, very carefully, at the question of whether we should issue a digital dollar. And it's something that central banks around the world are looking at and doing so appropriately because the technology now enables us to do that. President Biden signed an executive order today directing the federal government to come up with a plan to regulate cryptocurrencies. The move follows what the Biden administration is calling the, quote, explosive growth of digital assets in recent years. The directive also calls for the exploration and consideration of creating a digital form of the U.S. dollar.
Mercy. Guys, are you hearing this?
Це не ваші ракети, це не ваші бомби руйнують наші міста. Сьогодні, до речі, зранку були фосфорні бомби. Фосфорні російські бомби. Вбиті знов дорослі і знов вбиті діти.
Tonight, President Biden at an emergency NATO summit declaring the U.S. will take action if there's a chemical attack. We would respond if he uses it. The nature of the response would depend on the nature of the use. But when pressed, still no specifics on whether military force is on the table. It would trigger a response in kind. Whether or not you're asking whether NATO would cross, we'd make that decision at the time.
In Ukraine to the threats here at home, the Biden administration is sounding the alarm of possible cyber attacks from Russia targeting the nation's financial sector, power grids, and water systems.
FBI Director Christopher Wray said today Russia...
Listen, guys, out of one breath, they're all pushing for this digital currency, right? Out of the same breath, they're talking about a cyber attack. So do you see what's going on here? It's like the economy is being choked from either ends of the spectrum. It's like we're being surrounded, man. So what are you gonna do? We're gonna put our trust in God. That's what we need to do.
Power grids and water systems.
FBI Director Christopher Wray said today Russia appears to be preparing to launch cyber attacks in the U.S. Most cyber attacks don't just happen in an instant. There's activity that leads up to it. There's scanning and researching of victims, scanning for vulnerabilities in systems. So there's a whole range of preparatory work, which is what we've been seeing. Look, today my administration is issuing new warnings that based on evolving intelligence, Russia may be planning a cyber attack against us. As I said, the magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential, and it's coming.
When these things begin to come to pass, look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. But what I say unto you, I say to you all, watch. Thank you so much, Brother Saigan. Make sure you go share them some love. I'll put the link below. They got a lot of good stuff going on there. Guys, here you have it. A new world order is emerging. And the world is not ready for it. And we need to be aware how the movers and the shakers are going about to bring this thing to make it a reality. What should you and I do during this time? Just like it says in the video, we need to watch and be sober. We need to be awakened. We need to look up. We need to have our hearts drawn more toward God. Much more could be said, but I thought this was enough. Anyway, guys, comment below. Share your thoughts and perspective with me on this reaction video. Would you like to see more of those? Because I have a number of videos similar to that I could react to. I believe we are living in the end days. And what that means is that, friends, we must wake up, we must look on Jesus, we must have our hearts drawn toward God, and we need to be ready because the end is here.
Major pileup of snow came pileups of vehicles.
There we go.
In your car! Watch out! as well as a fair share of frustration and fear of the treacherous conditions. Some drivers in BC's Lower Mainland region unprepared for the forecasted snowstorm hitting hard during the busy evening commute. And even many who had come equipped became stranded into the early hours of the morning.
I was stuck in the car more than 8.5 hours. I do have slow tires here. But nothing worked.
No food, no drink. Yeah. And it's really disaster, I can say that.
Even at midnight, roads resembled rush hour after strong winds and snow swept across BC's south coast. Typically short drives turned into big trouble, hours-long odysseys back to the burbs.
I got home at 4 a.m., an 8-hour commute home.
Thousands woke up without power Wednesday. Most of the nearly 90,000 BC Hydro customers had electricity restored by midday, but crews were unable to reach some regions on Vancouver Island because of mass ferry cancellations. Air travel also affected with flight cancellations and a passenger jet sliding off a taxiway at Vancouver International Airport.
We had a little bit of snow in a first world country, a G7 country, and we cannot handle it.
Some drivers expressed their anger about uncleared roads and transit shutdowns as they scrambled to help each other create both paths out of the snow and friendly reminders to plan ahead. Some kids jumping at the chance to enjoy a snow day with many classes canceled. The province's hills and mountainous terrain providing unique but familiar winter challenges. And while weather warnings are still in effect in higher elevations away from the water, these conditions are expected to taper off into rain overnight. Neetu Garcha, Global News, Burnaby, BC. The European Union will create a specialized court to investigate and prosecute possible war crimes by Russia. Since the Russian invasion began in February, thousands of Ukrainians have been killed. In one example, in a Kyiv suburb, the remains of more than 450 people have been recovered, many bodies showing signs of torture. The EU also wants to use frozen Russian financial assets to pay for the estimated $830 billion in war damage in Ukraine. And Russia's state nuclear energy company says a Ukrainian engineer has now been appointed to head the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. The facility seized by Russia in March is heavily damaged. It hasn't been producing electricity since September. It is being run by Ukrainian workers to help keep it safe. Ukraine claims Russia has tried to coerce employees into signing contracts that sever ties with Kyiv. In October, the plant's former director general was detained for days before being released. To preserve and protect, coming up, the Indigenous-led initiative finding success in conserving biodiversity. Indigenous ties to the land go back thousands of years, and now efforts are underway to better recognize that connection. Next week, the international community gathers in Montreal for the UN Biodiversity Conference. In Canada, Indigenous nations are taking the lead. Nearly 90% of protected areas created over the past 2 decades have been led by Indigenous nations. Many more have been proposed. Eric Sorensen explains why their approach works and what Indigenous groups hope will come out of the COP15 conference.
It is a shocking statistic. The loss of diversity on the planet could put up to 1 million species at risk of extinction. One way it's being addressed is this: Indigenous guardians on the land, learning and reporting in areas like British Columbia's Central Coast to protect species such as salmon. I'm happy to see this, but historically there was a lot more. Next week, when COP15, the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, comes to Montreal, Indigenous nations from around the world will promote new partnerships to lead the way in sustaining lands while respecting Indigenous rights.
Protecting healthy lands, waters, plants, animals, it also supports our cultures and our way of life and our knowledge systems and our communities' well-being.
The United Nations COP15 goal is 30 by 30, protect 30% of the land and oceans by 2030. Canada is about halfway there. From Yukon and northern British Columbia, and across all provinces and territories, Ottawa is funding Indigenous-led initiatives to protect biodiversity. One region is the Seal River Watershed Indigenous Protected Area in northern Manitoba. The watershed is pristine and a storehouse for 2 billion tons of carbon. The indigenous people who've lived in the region for generations are becoming the recognized stewards of the land.
We understand that this work we're doing, it's a process in respecting our vision for the watershed, respecting our voices. We are working together to protect this land for our future, for our children's children, for Canadians, for people around the world.
In all, more than 24 indigenous protected areas could see more than 500,000 square kilometers conserved across the country.
I have faith the country of Canada will continue down this path of increasing its conservation.
In Montreal, police are also preparing for COP15 and potential disruption from protesters unhappy with the influence of industrial interests at the summit. But inside, the aim will be to find agreement among governments, indigenous nations, and others to slow and ultimately stop the loss of the world's biodiversity. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Aging out ahead concern as many workers approach retirement. A sudden loss for music fans. Christine McVie, who played with Fleetwood Mac and wrote some of their most famous songs, has died at the age of 79. McVie joined the band in 1970. She wrote some of their biggest hits, including Little Lies and You Make Loving Fun. Her bandmates are remembering her today as talented beyond measure. Her family says McVie died following a short illness. There is a new snapshot of Canada's workforce thanks to the latest Stats Canada data. Among people aged 25 to 64, more than 57% have a university or college degree. Canada has led G7 countries in this category since 2006. StatsCan says the country's strong post-secondary education system is key. Nearly a quarter of Canadians hold a college certificate, diploma, or similar credential. As Marty Blunt reports, all that education is great, but Canada's workforce is still aging at a rate that's concerning.
Business is shifting into high gear at this Winnipeg auto body shop.
Collision for winter pickup as soon as the first snowfall hit.
But the wait time for customers to get a car back on the road is lengthy.
It's probably due to technician shortage, to be honest with you. Not enough people in the trade anymore.
And according to the latest census data, it's not the only industry feeling the pinch. The number of working-age people in the trades industry has either fallen or remained flat, with mechanic and repair trades dropping nearly 8%, precision production dropping 10%, and construction trades rising just minimum.
There's significant problems, and every year that problem doesn't get better, it gets worse because there's more people leaving the trades and getting into the trades.
This amid record high labor demand and an increase of the baby boomers aging into retirement. The numbers a stark difference from the amount of working age Canadians with a bachelor's degree or higher. That rose more than 19% according to the census. Something industry experts say needs to be addressed at a grassroots level.
Construction is not being presented as a career of choice. High schoolers are not necessarily getting that balanced message about what you can do in construction, what you can do in trades.
The report also indicates trades have been limited by an underrepresentation of women, immigrants, and racialized groups, as well as a high unemployment rate among immigrants with foreign degrees, something the Canadian Construction Association says needs to be addressed. But until then, the lack of laborers means a service slowdown back in the shop.
We're currently booking first week of January. Other shops I heard are booking into March, so it's anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks, 12 weeks now.
It's an issue that isn't new, but likely one that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. StatsCan says the trend is expected to continue over the next decade as more baby boomers reach retirement. Now, to put that into perspective, in 2021, 30% of workers in mechanic or precision production trades were over the age of 55. Marty Blunt, Global News, Ottawa.
Cattle chaos. Next, the runaway cows creating headaches for Quebec farmers. Applause for the baguette. The crunchy, quintessentially French bread has been added to the United Nations Cultural Heritage List. The country is said to produce more than 16 million baguettes a day. French President Emmanuel Macron lobbied for this. He says the baguette is key to the French identity and is envied around the world.
But we humans like to think we've got control over domesticated animals. On farms, we keep animals in pens and surrounded by fences. In Quebec, it's some dairy cows that are in control. They broke through fencing and have been on the loose for months. They fled a farm in St. Barnabé, that's about an hour's drive northeast of Montreal, and they have moved since to the village of Saint Sever, where they have evaded every attempt to capture them, including by cowboys on horseback. Mike Armstrong reports.
They are out there somewhere. Forests around the village of Saint-Sever, Quebec are home, at least for now, to a troop of runaway cows, fugitives from Pierre Lapointe's farm. Lapointe says the story started on a stormy night in late July. Some of his cows were scared by thunder and lightning and knocked down a fence. 32 escaped, although that's a number that's growing. Lapointe says the cows were almost all pregnant, and some are having babies in the wild, 2 or 3 so far. Now, the cows seem to spend their days in the forest, basically hiding, and venture out at night. They are a problem. The farmer who snapped these photos of the runaways says they've trampled his fields and cost him crops. One was even hit by a car. Local farms are now suing the cow's owner. They've done tens of thousands of dollars of damage, and as the weather's changed, they've started eating livestock feed at farms. This new hunting camera's made for deer. It's looking for cows. Just this past week,
Distinguished parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to be here in Brussels with you all. I first addressed the EU Parliament in Strasbourg in 2017. It was the first time a Canadian Prime Minister addressed your Parliament. Back then, this Parliament saw me as someone new on the world stage. We could see that something was lurking off on the horizon, something shadowy, something that was threatening. We didn't look close enough. When I spoke to this Parliament 5 years ago, I spoke about making multilateralism work for the middle class and those working hard to join it, so that economic frustrations don't become fertile ground for populism, nativism, protectionism, and the polarization towards more extreme political views. Today, we are staring these forces in the face as they threaten the peace, justice, truth, democracy, and stability of our world. And we have a choice about what we do next. People have a real and deep sense of uncertainty about what the future holds. These are anxious times, and people are looking for leadership and solutions. Unfortunately, we're seeing a rise in cynical populists who are trying to exploit these anxieties. They pretend to have easy solutions that play on people's fears. Even in Canada, where 90% of people are vaccinated, and our motto as a country is peace, order, and good government, we saw anti-vaccine and anti-government protests devolve into illegal occupations of our communities and blockades of our borders. The leaders of those convoys were effective in turning citizens with real anxieties against the system best suited to allay those concerns. But democracy isn't a game. There just aren't easy solutions to the big, complex problems we are all facing.
Fucking twat.
So I speak to you today, no longer as someone quite so new. In fact, I may now be one of the longer serving progressive leaders around. And I'm certainly not going to pretend to have all the answers. But what I do know is that there is work that lies before us as thoughtful leaders, as people focused on the short and long-term well-being of all our citizens, as people committed to democracy and the values that underpin them,